Martin's International Moot Court winners. We're going to call them winners because for St. Martin they definitely are. A few weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, they arrived from the Netherlands in victory, I would like to say, and were met by myself as well as their parents, their coaches, those who were their coaches' families as well, their families, and I believe the entire St. Martin was able to enjoy and celebrate them. But as Minister of Education, I felt it very important to highlight these young ladies and the good that they have done and the good that they continue to do as role models for this community. So I would like to start first by introducing them. To my far left, I have Hilda Suarez, Candice Ford, and next to me, Tatia Muniz. And then from the far right, I have Manar Mohammed, Ariel Vlon, and next to me, Harsha Parchani. These young ladies were able to represent St. Martin very, very well, and I'll let them make their presentation and give you all the details because that's what this presentation is about, for you to get to know them individually and hear from them exactly what they experienced in preparation and during their competition. They were guided by coaches from Lexwell, Mr. Willem Nielsen, and Mr. Femi Couture, as well as Buzz Pilon of RBC and Erica Cannon, a retired lawyer. The program, the entire program and trip was sponsored by Lexwell as well as RBC. So this is a great example of the community, of the business community stepping up to give our young people an opportunity to excel, to also dream big, and also give them the inspiration to continue to dream. So as a Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, I believe they are a shining example of our young people on St. Martin doing good. And we have to take every opportunity to catch them being good, spread a light on them, shine a light on them so that they can continue to shine that light. Beside me sit 6 aspiring leaders of St. Martin. So I invite you now, starting with Hilda, to bring your presentation to the people of St. Martin.
All right. Well, my name is Hilda Suarez. I am originally from Venezuela. I am attending St. Dominic High School, IB Year 2, and I was one of the lucky who got able to do this wonderful experience. So basically what we're going to discuss about is what exactly is a moot court competition, how the team was formed, the effort in order for our performance to be at such a high level, our time in the Hague, and our personal experience, and why should SXM Moot should be continued for the future youth and through years to come. So the first thing is, so basically I'm going to explain what is a moot court competition. Basically, a moot court or mooting is an oral presentation of a legal issue or problem against an opposing counsel, and it has to be done against, to be brought forth a judge. And basically is always based on a fictional case. So most organizations make their pick country and then make different issues within that case. And it's up to the two opposing counsels, prosecution and defense, to write their arguments and show it before a judge. The judge basically critiques these arguments based on law facts and how those are applied within the scenario inside that case. Mooting is sometimes misled as a mock trial, but mock trials are basically that you're presenting in front of the jury and you're trying to remove the actuality of the evidence. So in this case, we're going against the judges, and we're mostly applying the law. We're not dealing with evidence or with people in that jury or with juries.
No.
So basically, that is what a moot court is.
No.
And yeah, I'm going to my next person now.
Thank you very much, Hilda. We'll now call on Candice Ford to continue the presentation. Each student here on the panel will get the opportunity to present a part of this presentation, and I'd like to also mention there is one panelist not here, Haley Grayo.
Thank you. My name is Candice Ford, and I am a student at the St. Martin Academy. I'm 16 years old, and I am basically the baby of the group. So I would be discussing what was the competition like on the island, and also I will also talk about my experience a little bit. So the competition on the island was hosted by lecturers, as you know, and it took place in the Phillipsburg court. And the competition was basically a replica of the ICC competition. In this competition, we were split into teams based on the schools that we attended. I believe 5 schools competed: St. Dominic's, St. Martin Academy, Learning Unlimited, Caribbean International Academy, and Milton Peters College. 2 teams from Milton Peters College. And the overall team that won was St. Dominic's, and the best speaker was Haley Gray, who unfortunately is not here. We argued basically a case about Joseph Bombi, who ran a place of refuge, actually, for people who were being affected in the camps. According to Mr. Bombi, he was providing an alternative means for people who were faced with hardship of the wars. In this case, we were left to debate whether the camps the government provided, where food was scarce and murders were random, was a better solution to what Mr. Bombi offered. Mr. Bombi did, however, prevent the freedom of movement of the people and paid them next to nothing for their work. In this argument, we argued admissibility and jurisdiction. After the arguments were done, we went to Holland House, where we enjoyed some hors d'oeuvres and some family time for those of us who families came. And now for my experience. So I first heard about this competition in school. My class actually nominated me to compete. And it was very interesting because before this, I was actually battling with myself as to whether or not I will become a lawyer. And at the end of this, I decided that I'm really interested in law. And I really like the experience. So therefore, this is not really my part, but this should definitely be carried on, and more people should get involved in doing this. Thank you. I hand over to my next person.
We now go back to Hilda, who will, I guess, give her experiences. Thank you, Candice.
I'm back. So basically, I'm gonna now talk about how the SXM team got formed. So as previously mentioned, St. Dominic won overall. So we were the first elected to go to Holland to compete at the international level. And then the other candidates were chosen based on how they presented themselves individually instead of as a team whole. So after the high school competition, we had like a long pause because as we know, the competition was in January, and this was around May of 2015, so there was a long waiting period. So in September is when we actually got the new case which we worked on. But our first meeting was in October, where we actually met one another, and then we had an idea who exactly are we gonna meet. After that, it was maybe scarce meetings once a week, once every 2 weeks, because we had to have time to deal with the case. Even though this is a mock of an actual trial, it is still very intensive. There's a lot of hidden details that we have to look for. So it's not something that you can just read the night before and come with a presentation about it the next day. So we needed some time in order to actually learn what we're talking about and have an idea of what exactly we're dealing with. As time became shorter and the competition was closer and closer to us, we had to, give up our personal time in order to attend more meetings to prepare ourselves. And we basically practice more on debating skills, on presenting, on making sure that we're able to express ourselves and try to convince the judges whether or not this person deserves to go to jail in an X amount of time, because we have 8 minutes to talk and then 5 minutes to rebuttal.
I will be speaking about the amount of effort that goes into preparation for an international competition such as the International Moot Court Competition. So first of all, the island, for this competition here on the island, all teams were vigorously involved, and I would say put in as much effort as they can. And this is something that cannot be done within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, even though if you try to do so. You need to build some sort of bond with your team, some sort of strength, and in order for you to do that, you have to spend adequate amount of time together. When it came to our team at St. Dominic, we would actually spend Tuesdays after school leaving up till all 5 or 6 in the afternoon at Burger King using their Wi-Fi. And we placed in a lot of effort into preparing for the high school in competition here on the island. When it came to our meetings and our training for the international competition that would be held in Holland, it was the same thing, even more hectic. As many may not know, all of us are in our crucial years. We are in our last years for possibly high school or even AP classes or IB. And it caused us to find a balance between schoolwork as well as extracurricular activities and as well doing this. This is not a walk in the park. When we came to meetings which were held on Saturdays, early mornings, we looked at facts. Facts are the best thing to look for when you're doing such a case. And after that, we dressed it or window dressed with other cases which were given to us. Case files are called the ICTY case files, the International Criminal Tribunal of Yugoslavia. And those are case files that we use to support facts within our speeches, either defense or prosecution.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Harsha Parchani. I'm a senior at Learning Unlimited and the editor of Teen Times and co-founder of Learning Unlimited's Modeling United Nations. I will be discussing our time in The Hague. Next slide. Monday, when we arrived, we had the orientation at Leiden University where we were basically introduced to the other teams and we introduced ourselves and our island. Nobody knew what St. Martin was, except now they knew that it's the island where you can touch the planes. At lunch, after lunch, we had a tour of the city of The Hague where we basically got to see historical sites and cultural landmarks. The structure of the competition, each team has a prosecution which contains 3 members, as well as a defense counsel which contains 3 members, which each have 8 minutes to speak and 2 minutes to prepare a rebuttal and 5 minutes to give their rebuttal. 2 countries competed in a trial, one acting as the prosecution and one acting as the defense. This is an example of our defense counsel and our prosecution counsel. Next. The judges were composed of either law students at Leiden, lawyers, and court judges. Some of them were very high officials. For example, we had to speak in front of a former Supreme Court judge for the state of New York. And also we spoke in front of an ICC tribunal judge, which actually presided over one of the case files that we had to use in our case. This is an example of the prosecution speaking in one of these trials. The case basically was the Office of the Prosecution against Eric Maxwell, in which Eric Maxwell was being charged with aiding and abetting in war crimes and crimes against humanity in the fictional country of Czechoslovakia. The war crime was basically during the Civil War, a church was bombed, and therefore, since churches are neutral objects, he was being charged for aiding and abetting in the destruction of this church. And also, he was charged for aiding and abetting in crimes against humanity, a forcible transfer of the population of Green Valley, which is wrong for the most part. The country was basically experiencing a civil war in which the government was fighting against this rebel group called the Eagles. And so each speaker had to address one of the issues. I was war crimes, Ariel was crimes against humanity, and Tatia was motive liability for defense. And then Manar was motive liability for prosecution, Candace was war crimes, and Hilda was crimes against humanity.
My My name is Manar Mohammed. I am 18 years old. I'm currently attending the St. Dominic High School. I am part of the International Baccalaureate program, which is a pre-university program. I'm in my second year, and I'll be speaking about friendship and experiences. And I chose this because, well, I'm the nicest person on the team. Anywho, okay, so basically I'm going to start with how did we start out. So we didn't all know each other. It wasn't like, I mean, most of us knew about each other, but we didn't know each other personally. I mean, all of us knew about Harsha, for example, being the editor of Teen Times and modeling and all those other stuff she does. Yeah, I guess I knew Candace because I used to attend St. Martin Academy and so forth, but we all kind of knew each other, but not really. So our first meeting with each other, and we had Willem Nielsen, our coach, over there, and we all introduced ourselves, and we said our ages, and we said a little bit about ourselves, like our hobbies and whatever, and we asked each other questions. And for example, the first question that Ariel got was, who does her eyebrows? And yeah, that was the first question that she got, because we were all looking at her wonderfully done eyebrows. And so, yeah, we asked Willem how old he is, which I'm not going to reveal for his sake. So we got to know each other, and we joked around with each other, and so much so that we're kind of a little bit too close now. And yeah, but that's all right. And we became friends, on basically a family, to the point where, I mean, when we were up in Holland, we started calling Willem our dad, and his wife Erica, our mom, and Bass was Uncle Bass, and Fami was Uncle Fami, and it came to the point where the other teams would be like, that's your dad? We're like, oh no, we're just joking. But that's how close we became. We basically became a family. And yeah, I basically covered the progression of our relationships. Friendship is important, and or even the importance of trust and having tolerance on your team. Reason being that if you, first of all, we're all young. We cannot pretend as if that we're able to separate our personal feelings from our professional feelings. So if we don't get along, or we don't have proper chemistry, or we don't have some sort of built-up relationship, then it will affect how our team will perform. Our team wasn't all rainbows and sunshine and unicorns from the beginning, you know? We had the dark rainbows and the dark sunshine and everything like that. We had the night, or whatever. You know, we had our little issues, but in the end, I believe that we resolved them in the most peaceful way possible. And I'm not saying that we all had to be the bestest buddies and from down the hood or whatever other terms people have, but we had to solve our issues and be tolerant of each other and tolerant of each other's personalities in order for us to be the strong team that we were. And one thing that I can say for sure that other teams noticed about us is how jovial we were, how fun we were, but how we knew when it was time to be serious.
I just want to draw a line to show you guys really how it actually is. I'm known to be the, very serious, and they make fun of me for being the serious one. And they're all talking about, how much fun we had during this experience, which is true, it was amazing. But don't be fooled, this organization takes your blood, sweat, and tears. You have to put all your time, all your dedication, be able to time manage yourself with school, your social life, and this whole organization. And it takes a lot, especially from us teenagers. So it's a lot of work, and it really develops a lot of skills that's necessary to be successful in the future. And I'm just, once again, so grateful to have this opportunity, and I hope a lot of St. Martin youth will decide, you know what, I will push myself and I will do it. And it will be the most dedicated students of St. Martin, and I know we can win, because to do an organization like this, it takes a lot from each of us individually, so we will have the best foot forward. And I'd like to call on one of our mentors to give a little, tiny bit about his experience.
Yes, thank you so much. I was going to do that. So, Mr. Nielsen, right? Willem? Daddy, Willem?
Willem will be fine. Thank you very much for the opportunity to allow us to speak here today. For everybody at home watching this, I'm not sure they know. I'd like to thank everybody who made this possible, my fellow coaches, the teammates of course, and our wonderful sponsors. Without them this really wouldn't be possible. This experience was amazing. I think these girls definitely showed what we tried to achieve with this, and that is to make sure that more lawyers, more judges, more law-related professionals on this island are from this island and not just imported from Holland, like myself. To make sure that we're able to do this in the future, I'd like to call on everybody in St. Maarten to give their support, to pledge their assistance for this program going forward. We're a not-for-profit organization and we need your help. Same goes to government, of course. Thank you very much.
I guess I asked for that one. Thank you so much, Mr. Davison and the rest of the coaches. We're only seeing 3 of them here today, but based on the presentation made by our budding lawyers and other legal professionals on the table with me, I know that there are many who have contributed to their success. What I would like to share with the general public is that the reviews that I heard from the very first case they presented out of the Netherlands was outstanding. I'm sure most of us heard it. But upon their return, I actually heard that hands down every team expected them to win. So whether it was based on a technicality or it came down to a subjective judgment call, these girls have all reason to be quite confident and brag about their performance because of the skills that they displayed in the Netherlands. I think it was important to highlight them here right at home. I mean, it would have been really nice to have had a video of one of the sessions to add to this as well, and maybe if you have it, we can do it, but at least for the next time, make sure you have someone with a good camera. Because this is very, very important. We have so much that is being said negatively about our youth, and this was not an initiative of government, so I'm not trying to take credit for it, but I think that if we take every opportunity to highlight the youth that are doing good, it's an encouragement to others and an inspiration to others. They have inspired their, their fellow youth to get involved in something like this. I would like to add my words of encouragement to them, but get involved in any extracurricular activity actually that you are passionate about. And though government did not sponsor it, I'm sure the next time around, seeing the great success, that we will find some way within our budget to also contribute. 2 more. There are 2 more that we need to finalize. I thought with calling up Willem that was it. But there are 2 more that didn't yet express their personal experiences. Just more to say. Okay, so I will end here in sense of my contribution to this and let the students, the MOOC champions of St. Maarten, actually finish the presentation with the encouragement that youth can do whatever they want to do. We just have to support them.
Okay, hello again. I am from Caribbean International Academy. My name is Era Vaughn. And MOOC Court must continue in the future. It's just a must. For us teenagers, especially me personally, a little bit about my experience, the biggest weight that us teenagers carry on our shoulders is the fact that now is the time for us to make our life decisions, our important decisions. We have to make sure we take all the right courses in high school to ensure that we can get into the faculty of what we want to do in the future. And you know, in your teenage years, we all struggle with the fact that we're trying to find self-realization and find ourselves and know what we want to do in the future. And this organization really, really helped me. My entire life, even since I was 4 years old, as the minister had spoke about me at the finalized point in our national round, everyone kept telling me, you know, you have to be a lawyer, you have to study law, please pursue law. And when it became time for me to decide, I was at the point where I thought, you know, this is what everyone else wants for me, not what I want for myself. And when I heard about the MOOC Court competition, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to run, I'm going to take this challenge because it's a perfect opportunity for me to see if I do want to pursue law. And I found that in our trials, I felt at home. It was super exciting, as everyone said, but when they say exciting, it's being tormented with questions in the courtroom. And this is what the 6 of us find exciting, which is pretty crazy.